All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. How you doing? That's good. Real quick, if you would like to support the channel, I got a Patreon link and a PayPal link in the description. Really help me out. All right, so today I'm going to go through the at the very end of the Grant Amato interrogation, after 4 hours of going through the honesty loop with the detectives, just, I'm honest, you're honest, she'll tell you. I've had the greatest career of all time. I don't want to brag, but I did. So after going through just 4 hours of that, they make Jason change clothes. They put him in a retina burning green shirt and what looks to be swim trunks, which I don't know why. Anyway, it just makes him look even more juvenile and sad than he already does. And then he asks for Jason, his brother. And as we saw with Ronnie in the Kritz Watts case, bringing a family member in, especially if they ask for him, if you sit there for 4 hours and he's just mumbling in a monotone, just, yeah, my dad was mean. Bringing a family member in, as we've seen, can help. Can just get the whole thing going. And so they bring Jason in. Jason, at this point, has lost his entire family, and he's 99.9% sure that it is his Bulgarian cam model addicted baby brother Grant. So he's pretty much sure, walking into this little tiny sweaty, just think how it smells in that room. They've been in there for 5 hours in the honesty loop. Whew. I'm honest, she'll tell you. So they get in there, and Jason hugs Grant, a big long hug, and it's a weird feeling because I'm sure he wants to hug his brother, and Grant's the only one that lost what he lost in this whole situation. So they do this hug, but in his gut, he knows. So it's just bizarre footage. I kind of breezed through this little chunk of Jason coming in the videos where I analyze the whole interrogation, because it's like the end of a 4-hour thing. And I think by the time I got there, I'd listened to the whole thing 3 times. And I was like, okay, Jason's in, it's over, thank God. I still see like a little shiny flash where the light was reflecting off of Grant's head. I'm hoping that goes away. But so I kind of breezed through it, and then thinking about it for a week, it hit me like, that is some insane footage of Jason coming in there and talking to Grant. So I'm going to give it its own video. So they come in, they hug. Jason goes, I take it you know what happened. Did you have any part of this in any way? Which, look at that. How's that for an interrogation technique? Just ask. See what they say, instead of going, Grant, I'm going to be honest. From the moment that I look at you until the moment that I look away. That's just the kind of guy I am. She'll tell you. It's like, maybe just ask him. He's like, did you have any part of this in any way? And Grant just goes, no, like the saddest, softest no. And then I'm pretty sure, I watched it with that in mind, I'm pretty sure that's the only time he denies it, the whole time they're talking. So half of this, Jason is just assuming that he did it and talking to him as if it's just for sure that he did do it, and Grant isn't pushing back at all. He's just taking it. You can't bullshit your older brother the same way you can a detective. The detective is rambling on about how honest he is, and then you can just sort of monotone nightmare a story out. Hey, my dad is mean, and it wasn't me, and this is the time that I left the house. But when it's your older brother, it's lived with you your whole life, just sitting there staring at you, being like, Grant, all right, cut the shit. All right, the honesty loop guy, I get it. But, bro, I'm your older brother. Shut the fuck up, all right? Just stop rambling and let's get to something. And so I think it's great that detectives are very willing to bring a family member in. And then the first chunk of this is just Grant being like, I want to believe you, but there's no one else who else would have done it? Grant, who else wanted to kill our mom? You know, to think that this was this huge, just tragic thing that happened, and it was, come on. You're the one that's malignantly addicted to Sylvie the Bulgarian, got on all this money trouble, stole everyone's money, should probably be in jail. You're the one that did all of that. It had to be for you, Grant. So he does a really good job of just being like, Grant, come on, dude. There's no one else. Think about it. It's our mom. Who wants to kill mom? And Grant just goes, I don't have the answers. He doesn't say, I didn't do it, or this is crazy, or I know it looks bad, but I swear I was at the Publix parking lot. I was at this hotel. He just goes, I do not have the answers. The way he says it, it almost seems like a Lord of the Ring type quest movie where the main character elves are like, we must travel through the darkened forest and the creepy swamp to talk with the man with the huge head for the answers. And then they get there, and it's Grant, and Grant goes, I don't have the answers. And then the main characters realize that they had the answers within the whole time. But I love that line. I do not have the answers. That's also my response. If anybody has a criticism of my show or of the topics I pick, I hear you. It's just that I don't have the answers. So, anywho. So Grant is answerless. And he's sitting there looking sad. And then it kind of switches over to, as a way to just show Grant how insane he's acting, which I think was, whether if he did it on purpose or not, it's pretty smart. In just a very practical way, he was like, Grant, okay, if you didn't do it, how are we going to find out who killed our parents? How are we going to, we have a lot of work to do. All their house needs to go through. Someone called me and that Cody's organs were perfect, but we couldn't use them. I didn't have the power of attorney to sign off. And so someone could have used his organs. They can't now. We were not prepared for this, Grant. What are we going to do? It's a lot of work when one family member dies. We have to deal with 3 right now. And what that does is it kind of just highlights that Grant has just been, there's been no concern for any of that of like, all right, what's the next step? I got to figure out who did it's just him being like, can I borrow your credit card? Or just, I don't have the answers. My dad was mean, but I just don't have any of the answers, I'm sorry. So the normal concerns that a person that just lost their entire family, seeing Jason have those and just bouncing them off Grant, you get to see Grant just being like, I'm not acting right. And then he kind of goes into, so no one is looking for you, Grant? No, there's no loan sharks. You don't have some crazy guy that you borrowed money from? Because if it wasn't something like that, it had to have been you. There's just no... And then he talks about how that Grant should probably be in jail already, which I think is interesting. I think the one question everybody has as they're going through this case is, how was he actually able to steal the money that fast? Was he just racking up credit card debt, and then once it was racked up, going to like the mom or the brother, the dad, and being like, I have this credit card debt, I need to be bailed out? Or was he actually stealing the credit cards? Because you would think at some point the bank would email or call the parents and being like, there's a lot of money going to this strange site in Bulgaria. Is there... Like, I have it set, if anything is spent more than $125, I get an email to be like, was this you? I know he lied for a while and told the dad that he was starting a game streaming business and he wanted advertising money. But even after you give someone $10,000, you'd be like, Grant, how many followers do you have on Twitch? Where is this advertising doing anything? How are these streams going? Are you winning these video game battles, or I don't know. I don't know how it works. But he was saying, Grant, the FBI is going to look at this money, essentially saying this isn't over, Grant. Even if you worm your way out of, they're going to have questions. And then it goes to Jason looking his brother dead in the eye and saying, Grant, I don't believe you. And I'll probably resent you either way for the rest of my life. And I need closure because I wasn't there. I don't want to hear it from the news or a judge or an attorney or something. Please, come on. And Grant's got nothing to say. And then Jason has a heartbreaking monologue where he's like, I probably wouldn't have been able to stop you, and you probably would have hurt me. And that would be a moment if it wasn't you would, if it wasn't Grant would have said, brother, I didn't do this. I would never hurt you. I would never hurt mom. Come on. I would never do. But Grant's just sitting there in a retina burning green shirt, just like, yeah. And his brother is going, you probably would have killed me too. Isn't that an insane feeling that Jason, just if I would have been at that house, doesn't matter that I have daughters to take care of, doesn't matter that I have a wife, none of that matters to this guy. He would have just blown me away too. It's got to be. And then that whole feeling just turns into fear of Jason being like, Grant, what are you going to do? It's like almost like he turns into the dad now that the dad and mom are gone. It was like, what are we going to do with you, Grant? How did that job interview go? And Grant's like, it seemed to go good. It seems like everything is moving forward. I don't have the answers, but we're going forward, everybody. Just plowing forward. And Jason is like, like, what do you plan to do? All of this worry is now on him and the remaining family, but it's probably a little bit hard to care about Grant. But he's like, you can't stay with me. I don't feel safe to be alone with you, Grant. At one point he goes, physically I could take you, but if you have a knife or know how to get a gun, I'm screwed. Grant, again, I mean, the silence speaks volumes. He's just a way that only your older brother can just lay it down how it is. So there's this whole like, what are you going to do? I can't imagine the feeling of, think of Jason's wife. You have these 2 daughters and your husband's family, which maybe you never even got along with in the first place, are now dead, and the little creepy bald brother is just a financial pit. So he'll steal your money, he'll kill you, he'll kill your mom. It's like, how scary would it be to just be like, what are we going to do with Grant? Can someone arrest Grant for something so he's not out here? For the love of God. Let me see if I have anything. And he's like, you can't live with me. And then he kind of goes on this one, like, I need closure. And Grant's got nothing to say. And then Jason waves at the detectives like, I'm done. And the detectives come in, and as Jason hugs Grant as he's leaving and goes, I'll pray for you, Grant, because I can't pray for Mom, Dad, and Cody anymore. And he walks out, and Grant, there's always a post-interrogation depression, I think, where even if they held strong and didn't confess or didn't admit to anything, they leave Grant in there for another 20, 30 minutes, and he's just sitting in there alone. And you see this in other interrogations of the feeling of, even though I didn't confess, this is my new life, is just sitting in these tiny little cramped rooms that smell like ass because there's been a 4-hour nervous interrogation going. And he's just sitting in there, and he puts his big head on the table. And you can, I don't know if he's thinking this, but I always feel like they're thinking, like, I'm never even going to be able to go to the bathroom again without having to ask. Nothing will be the same. I'm just sitting in this room on someone else's schedule. Like, I think it starts to hit after they're all tired. You're tired from the interrogation, from the honesty loop. Grant, I'll tell you something. I'm honest. She'll tell you. I'll tell you. You're honest. All right. So the last little thing I was going to do is I couldn't help but thinking last night, like, what could have been done? I don't like to, this is what the victims should have done. But it's impossible for something like this to not think that. And it's easy for me to, where I'm sitting here, I don't have a kid that's addicted or going through the nightmare that he was going through. But I was thinking, essentially, it's just an addiction, right? He's addicted to this webcam. And it's a very specific addiction, which say he was just wildly addicted to alcohol, that one's tough, because even if he goes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, gets help, there's a liquor store on every single corner. So even if there's so much availability, but with this one, I don't think he's just addicted to porn in general or web. I think it's just Sylvie. So I think that would be kind of a pro. So it's like, all right, if we just get rid of data, if we get rid of everybody's getting a flip phone, say the family would have come together and said, all right, this is emergency. I know it's going to be tough, but we're all getting flip phones. We're not going to have internet here. We're getting rid of Wi-Fi. They called Sylvie, which I think is great. Call Sylvie and say, Sylvie, Grant is not a rich, successful video gamer. He's really nothing. This was our retirement. He sent you our hiking money, but he's not this cool. There's that picture of Grant wearing like the fedora, doing the duck face, holding $100 bills, like. And so if Grant would have just come home one day and they're like, hey, Grant, we got a little change of plan. Sit down. So there's no internet here anymore. We decided we don't want it. If you want to spend your own money and get internet, that's fine. But I think we're done with internet. We're actually going to watch a 90s movie tonight. We're on DVD. I think we're going with Face Off. Nicolas Cage, John Travolta, they switch faces. Who wouldn't like that movie? Okay? So, yeah, there's no social media or anything, but we're going to cook some popcorn, start a movie, and I guess he could have gone out and tried to talk to her at a library, but how many days go by where all of a sudden he's like, all right, this isn't worth driving around and trying to find internet. And some of the cons, though, of this type of addiction is how fast it happened. 3 months to spend that, even a cocaine addict, which they just dump money down the drain, I don't think spends the money that fast. So I guess one of the cons of this one is just before they even realized what was happening. And then the fact that he had thought that he loved her makes it tough too, because it's like, you're keeping me from the woman I love. Even though how insane that sounds, where he's paying this woman $600 an hour and she doesn't live in even remotely close, I think he thought he loved her. So it turns into sort of a twisted Shakespeare play where it's like the small, bald, goat-like main character falls in love with Sylvie the Bulgarian, and then it's like in Romeo and Juliet, how the families are driving them apart. And so I think that would be a hard one. It's like, all right, we're cutting you off, and then it's almost like he's got to go through a breakup, and then he's got the mom feels so bad for him, and he goes up to the mom and he's like, Mom, I'm sad, I love her. And she feels that motherly, like, oh God, he's emotionally, all right, here's my phone, text her, just make it quick. But I think if they would have just gone nuclear with the security on their bank accounts, just tell the bank, listen, if it's not the grocery store, shut it down. Security on all the cards, tell the family, and then get rid of internet. And then I know it's tough, but if they would have just let him go to jail for credit card theft or whatever Jason was saying, like, you should be in jail already. That would have been a pretty good. He ended up there anyway, forever. So maybe that would have been a way to have him detox off of the Bulgarian, is just sitting in jail. But like I said, it's real easy for me from where I'm sitting to say what should have been done, but maybe we could learn something. Anyway, I'm going to cut it off there. I hope you guys are having a good start to the week. Why, Steven, why? Shamita.